So since 2000, 61,000 foster children have been listed as missing. 61,000. Nationwide.
Foster kids.
Yeah, just missing.
That were taken from their parents,
right,
put in foster care, are missing.
Because that's supposedly safer, right?
Yes.
Well,
doesn't
certainly
sound safer
than having been with their loving parents.
Right.
Now they're with the loving state.
Right.
Now there's 60,000 plus.
61,000.
Missing.
I was just asked the other day by someone new to us if I was the Forbidden Doctor. Well, of course, I said no. The Forbidden Doctor is not me at all.
We are not the Forbidden Doctor. Jack is not the Forbidden Doctor. It's in you.
The Forbidden Doctor is that magical, mystical power inside of you that is controlling and healing everything.
It's that beautiful, marvelous, almost miraculous force that controls all healing.
It's that innate intelligence, that life force-directed influence that triggered your DNA to guide the building of your body after conception.
Yeah, it's that power that sustains your life, repairs your wounds and lesions, and it never stops working. It's that essential part of you that keeps you alive and heals your every hurt.
This is the Forbidden Doctor. It's not me. It's that part of you the powers that be have decreed forbidden to ever learn about or even consider, and never ever rely upon. For it is forbidden that you even know this life force exists at all.
You are your own Forbidden Doctor.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Jack.
And Mary.
And welcome back to the Forbidden Doctor podcast. This is podcast episode 185, Health Freedom. What to do when CPS shows up at your door.
And I have to tell you, it's nice to be back. We've been traveling for the last 4 weeks, and I have been lazy. And we've just used Jack's national and local radio shows, and we just transformed them into podcasts.
Nothing wrong with that, I'd say.
They were brilliant and wonderful. And Dr. Josh helped us out, too.
Yes.
Did an incredible podcast, I think a week ago. So I thought they were brilliant. It was just nice to have a break. So we're excited to be back. I'm excited to be back.
I'm glad to see you back here in the driver's seat with me.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm glad I'm here. We have been gone to Standard Process for 2 of those 4 weekends.
Yes.
We went to Back to School for Doctors, where there was about 600 people at this seminar back in Denver, and we got some incredible training, which we're going to relay to you guys out there in podcast land and teach you some of the most fascinating things we learned. Not today, but we're going to in a couple of next weeks. And then also we went to the 90th anniversary of Standard Process, and it was just so incredible. How many vitamin companies do you know have been around for 90 years?
None.
No, none.
None, not at all.
It's an amazing, incredible company. We went on these farms. It's in the, and we've talked about this before, but it's the soil from in these farms is from the glaciers that have retreated. Is that the right? Yes.
Yeah, the kettle moraine.
The kettle moraine minerals that have deposited into this incredibly rich soil. Standard Process thinks it's the most rich soil on the face of the earth, and they're building houses on it. So they're buying up. They have how many acres?
A little over 700.
Yes, 700 something, almost 800. Oh no, is it a little over 700?
Yeah, they're currently cultivating 700 plus.
Yeah.
Acres.
It was just the most beautiful thing to see, all these organically grown, everything. And one thing that we did learn is that all of the products put into Standard Process supplements are organic, grown on their fields, but they cannot get all organic organ glandulars.
But they come from very clean USDA prime choice.
They do get organic
facilities,
but they
very,
can't
very
get
clean.
all.
Yeah.
So they can't stamp on the bottles organically, organic. But know that all the plant material, everything in there is organic, and many of them are gluten-free and all kinds of other things. But it was just fascinating to see the factory where they process these plants and how gentle they are and how little processed actually they are and how they get them into wafers and capsules and tablets. It was fascinating to learn. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that on another podcast. But today we have something exciting to talk to you about. Take it away.
Well, we'd like to introduce you to our new rewards program, Cashback World, where you get cashback on your online purchases from the Forbidden Doctor and earn shopping points that you can use in mom-and-pop stores all over the world.
And they're also our new sponsor to the Forbidden Doctor podcast, Cashback World. And this sponsor doesn't just help keep our podcast on the air, but it helps you, the listeners. This free app gives you cashback in your pocket when you shop. And we all have to shop. So why not use this app and get cash back? Go to whynotgetcashback.com to register and download the free cashback app. And if you don't like it, just delete it. Yes. It's free.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about something many of you have heard about, but might not be too familiar with unless you've been run over by the power of the state yourself.
Yeah.
There are branches of government that run behind the open inspection of the public and therefore are not always open to public scrutiny. CPS, Child Protection Services, is one of them.
Yes.
Today we're talking to Miste Karlfeldt, Director of Health Freedom Idaho. She has been in the forefront of the fight for family freedom and the freedom of choice in the state of Idaho for over 3 years now and has herself come face to face with the oppressive power of the state many times. This is not an expose of the CPS, but rather a continual dwindling of the rights of the family over the power of the state. So, Miste, welcome to the Forbidden Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you here.
Well, thank you for helping to get this very important information out.
Yes.
Families need to hear this so that they know how to protect themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of our podcast, What to Do When the CPS Shows Up at Your Door.
Right.
So how'd you get into this?
The CPS portion or the health freedom in general portion?
Well, start with the earliest and work up to the latest.
Okay, so the earliest was that my naturopath, there was a licensure happening in Idaho that would have greatly restricted my naturopath who was healing me. Mm-hmm. I had an autoimmune disease, or have an autoimmune disease. I went all the way to the Mayo Clinic, and they prescribed 3 years of chemotherapy for me.
Mm. Oh, for an autoimmune disease.
Oh, they said it would reboot my immune system.
Wow.
And I was like, don't you mean you're going to annihilate my immune system? Mm-hmm. And I was a single mom of 4 at that time. I knew my body, after being sick and bedridden and on lots of meds, my body was not going to take 3 years of chemotherapy.
You know, I always say we are in the dark ages of healing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what part of healing would have happened with 3 years of chemotherapy?
Right. It would not have healed. That's what I said. This is not going to heal me. It doesn't fix the cause.
Right.
And they actually said, don't get distracted by the cause. That's what they said. At the Mayo Clinic, you expect better.
It doesn't matter what the cause of the problem is. Don't get distracted by
right.
it.
Well,
just
they do it openly now.
Yeah.
They say we're just managing symptoms.
That's what they said to me.
And it's amazing. They say that with a straight face.
Right. And I expected more from the Mayo Clinic, I got to say. I mean, my experience there was everything is laid out phenomenally, but I expected a better answer after 2 weeks of tests.
Well, a lot of people think the Mayo Clinic or Sloan Kettering or the one there in the Loma Linda or places like this are the mecca of healing.
Right.
But they're crisis care meccas.
They're the mecca of the pharmacopoeia.
That's right.
That's about it.
Yes, and I didn't realize that at the time.
What's that?
I didn't realize that at the time.
Yeah.
But when my naturopath started healing me with nutritional IVs and hyperbaric chamber and chelation, and I mean, we just hit it hard, and I went from being bedridden to being able to walk and enjoy my children again. Oh. So, you know, I was pretty sold out for natural health care at that point.
Yes, and then you find Standard Process with all their help for autoimmune disease.
Yes.
And it's just... And we need the freedom to do this.
That's correct.
And we fight so hard for this. There's so many illegal words we can't use.
Right.
And it's criminal, in my opinion.
And
well, you control the verbiage and you control the language, then you control the industry.
Yeah.
And that's why we started Health Freedom Idaho, because we realized that those rights were being stripped from us. I mean, in 2015, when they had that licensing bill that would have restricted my naturopath, who is now my husband, by the way.
I know. It's so cool. I'm trying not to smile over here.
Yeah. But also SB 277, which was taking away religious and philosophical rights for vaccine exemptions in California, was passing. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that if we didn't start now advocating for our rights, rights, that we were going to lose them.
You're not going to have any rights.
No.
I'm so proud of you. And this is a nonprofit.
Yes.
So you're not getting rich off of this.
No, people have reported that, and I'm like, well, where is the money?
Where's the money? Show me the money.
Yeah, it's not in my account. I'll guarantee you that. In fact, we of course, at the beginning, it takes a lot of funding to get things going. So it's cost us money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay, because the money, it doesn't matter to me. My children do.
Yes.
So
and your life.
Yeah.
This handsome naturopath crosses your path.
Yeah.
And naturally, following his methodologies and protocols, you are back on your feet. But how did you get into the political end of this?
Well, because they were trying to pass this bill that would have restricted his right to practice, and that then would restrict my right to get better, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's really the government saying, we know better than you.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, hey, I've already tried this path. I've done my research. This is what I want to do. The government shouldn't be telling people what they can and can't do, dictating what is safer for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I think the government kind of gets it backwards sometimes, not realizing that their power extends from us.
That's correct.
And,
we the people.
And the more we kind of, I don't want to cause a lot of trouble, and you back off, the more power they end up with.
And
Right.
they care about us, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They
Right,
have
of
our
course,
best
right.
interest
They have
at
our
heart.
best
No, they're
interest.
run by money.
Yes. Completely.
Completely.
And the people need to be louder than the money. That's what I've been really trying to tell.
Ooh, I like that.
The members of Health Freedom Idaho is you have to be louder than the money that they're getting from pharmaceuticals.
Oh, good luck with that.
You just do. You have to be talking to your representatives because they have to fear being voted out. You see what I'm saying? Because that cuts off all the power and the money.
Yes.
So that is the big, we have to be louder.
Wow. I love that. That gives me chills.
Well,
That is
after doing local daily talk radio in Salt Lake for over 20 years and interviewing many people trying to get reelected, it doesn't take a whole lot of people to get their attention.
That's very true.
If they know that you are going to actively work against their reelection.
That's right.
For something that they could equivocate 2 minutes and then decide in your favor. All they have to know is what the people really want. And most people are silent.
Most people are silent. They're trusting that whoever they voted in is doing what's best. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I trusted the system. And then once I got in the system, I realized how absolutely corrupt it was. And I had legislators say to me, look, for years, all we've heard from is lobbyists. So we're not hearing.
That's all they know. That's right.
Yeah, that's all they know. So to be fair, it's really the fault of we the people that we haven't been active and we haven't been talking to our representatives. So the only people bending their ear are lobbyists who are supported by pharmaceutical money.
Yeah.
So really, we have to take a little bit of blame there. We're not protecting our constitutional republic, and so we need to get in there and get active and be heard.
Well, good. So I'm sorry. So
I was just going to move the discussion.
what are the hot issues now?
Well, CPS has kind of become my wheelhouse, and not because I thought, I really want to know about this CPS issue. It just sort of landed in my lap, Yeah,
I've always had a problem with CPS. I'm sure they do some wonderful things, but you're guilty before proven innocent, and that is not the way our country's set up. And it is so incredibly, unbelievably violent to take children from parents. Now, I know there's cases, and everybody's going to throw those in your face,
Sure.
Mothers doing cocaine and all kinds of things. But as a whole, this is what absolutely terrifies people. And it's a terrorist type thing where
Absolutely.
they can come in and take away your children, and you are guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
No due process.
And the trauma on the child.
Yes.
The trauma
not
on the
even
mother.
considered.
No.
It's not even considered.
No. It's just. And that's completely against the Constitution. I know there's instances where, you immediately have to get a child out of extreme danger. Certainly are there, but we're not talking about those, are we?
No, that's not what we're talking about. In fact, the first case that sort of landed in my lap was up in North Idaho. There was a baby. Mom has an illness, right? She has she's handicapped. She had her baby, and of course they knew she was having a baby, right? Yeah. And so she has 24-hour care, and her husband and her father-in-law live with her and all these things. Anyway, she has her baby, and the dad says he doesn't want hepatitis B for his brand new baby.
Yeah.
That's his right.
Yes, it is.
CPS was called, and on the second day of life...
The hospital called CPS because the father denied the Hep B shot.
That's what the father says. Everything changed when he denied the shot. And when we look at the police report and what they consider imminent danger, that was listed. Here they were in the hospital. So, how is that? They're there, imminent danger. There was a few things listed on that police report. One was that hepatitis B was declined, and that led them to believe that they would not seek medical treatment for their child if it was needed.
I have no words.
It's baffling. They're in the hospital. It's baffling.
It wasn't a home birth. It was...
And the other one was that the dad continued to allow the baby to sleep on his chest, even though the hospital staff had continued to tell him not to.
Wow.
And this is becoming a huge thing in the hospitals, at least in Idaho, where they're really saying you can't have your baby sleep on your chest.
Oh, I know. My daughter just had a baby, and it was this big thing. And I said, how will they get their neck muscles strong?
Yeah.
This is, in my opinion, and I'm going to go way out on a limb here and sound radical, I think it's a combination of vaccinations and a very bad misalignment, usually from a C-section baby that cuts off their airways and a bunch of other things. But those are the biggies.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why they can't lift their heads up anymore, because they're comatose almost. And it was always the rule to put them on their tummy. And Jack, you can explain that with getting their neck muscles strong, because that's the most vulnerable part of your body is your neck there. You know how a new father will be all proud of a baby that says, look, he can hold his head up.
Yes.
Because intrinsically, instinctually, they know you have to have a really strong spinal or neck.
Within a few weeks, with a baby laying supine, which means on its back, flat on its back, and you grab its hands and you slowly lift it forward, flexing at the waist. Within a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, a month at the most, it ought to be able to pull its head up with the rest of its body.
Yes, and it's very critical.
If the head falls backwards, there's a serious misalignment of C1 taking place.
Yeah. But anyway, continue on. So this family, did they take a baby at 2 days old?
Yes, they did.
Misty, tell me they didn't do that.
They did, and it's so tragic because mom was never able to nurse, of course, right? They got the baby back after 10 days, which is pretty unheard of as far as how fast that was.
They must have given the baby formula for 10 days.
Of course.
And no colostrum.
Right.
Right, to speak of. Right. Maybe she got a day in there.
Maybe she got a day in, right? So never was able to nurse the baby, and that critical bonding time. And the tragic thing is that you will never know.
Yeah.
Really never know how that scars that baby.
And did they vaccinate him?
You don't know that either.
You don't know that either.
Oh, you can bet your bottom dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I have a real good friend that adopted 3 kids, and they were forced. Of course, they were forced to vaccinate them, and they're very special kids now.
Right,
I mean, they're high maintenance,
right? And
they came to them just fully vaccinated,
oh my gosh.
And such problems.
Right.
Now they did have mothers with bad microbiomes and a lot of problems to begin with, but it didn't help.
No, certainly not. So this case sort of came to me, and then when the baby was reunited with mom and dad after 10 days, for some reason, all of Idaho thought that I knew what to do for CPS because I was just reporting on it, right? So then I was like, people were asking me questions, which, as you know, it makes you dive deep and find the answers. And I thought, my goodness, with, starting with Health Freedom Idaho, and my husband's a naturopath, I was afraid that CPS would show up at my door.
Oh, I guess so.
Right. So I thought, well, I better get educated on this.
You mean they don't give you advance notice?
No.
We're going to be there Tuesday afternoon
like
at 2
the Gestapo, they come in.
Right. We're going to give you 2 weeks notice in advance, make sure things are cleaned up and the clutter's put away. And
right. Sometimes they'll call you and say, hey, we need to come by the house. But more often than not, they show up at the door with a police officer with them.
Yes.
And the parents,
intimidating.
Totally. And the parents often think that it's safe because there's a police officer there. I'm here to tell all the parents right now, the police officer is not there for you. The police officer is there to protect the CPS agent that wants to take your child.
Oh, my God.
Because certainly you would want to fight for your child, right? So the police officer is there to defend the caseworker, not you.
Now, do they need a warrant to come in the house?
They do need a warrant. In fact, it's a breach of your Fourth Amendment right, and oftentimes you don't know that. You just invite them into your home and you just surrender your Fourth Amendment right instead of holding to your Fourth Amendment right, telling them to get off of your property. If you don't have a warrant, you need to get off of my property. You're trespassing. And yes, you can say that to a police officer. And yes, you can say that to a CPS caseworker.
For sure.
Now, there are those who might work up enough courage to say that because they've been so instructed or informed of their rights to do that. But aren't they going to tremble in fear that in the next hour, 50 sheriff's deputies are going to show up with 50 warrants and knock down the door?
Well, the thing about the warrant process is you have to prove to a judge that there's imminent danger.
Yeah.
Letting them into your home gives them reason to find imminent danger.
Right. Well, that's why you never let them in your house, period, without a warrant.
I have seen dishes in the sink as listed as imminent danger. I've seen laundry on the sofa, the toilet seat down, and listen to this, I've seen toilet seat up. Like you can't
win.
Please these people.
But
right?
Misty, you and I both have been single moms.
Yes.
Okay, so any day of those many years I was a single mom, you could have walked into my home and taken my children for the laundry everywhere, the toys everywhere,
right?
the uneaten food that didn't get thrown away that was probably molding. You know?
Life happens.
Oh, life happens.
Life happens.
That is so not
what
right.
What if you have a sick child? And I've seen that too. You have a sick child and there's laundry and, and then they say, well, this is imminent danger. So the most important thing is to invoke your Fourth Amendment right and say, please get off my property.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Thank you for that information.
Yes.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if they do come back, what would be, let me get before that actually, what would be a probable cause of imminent danger on a warrant for them to come back? No, I'm going to go back even further than that.
Okay.
Somebody who shows up totally surprised, they do not have a warrant. You're sitting there scratching your head like, what are you doing here? We are a nice family. Everything's normal. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Would you ask them why they're there, or would you just tell them, do you have a warrant? No, beat it.
I honestly would. The less you say, the better, because
right.
Everything you say can and will be used against you.
Absolutely. You can bet it will be. It's not like, well, if you say something really bad, right, we'll probably use it. No. Anything you say will be used against you.
So this reminds me of witch hunts. Your neighbor gets mad at you and hears you scream one day at your kids and calls the CPS on you.
Right.
And then you're guilty and then you have to prove your innocence.
And there's always the do-gooders.
Oh, right. Exactly.
That are out there who heard somebody say something about somebody else who said something about this person down the end of the street.
The ex-wives, the ex-husbands.
And then they feel compelled to call the state.
That's been used a lot.
Or they'll call 911 and say, well, I heard that these children were being starved because of some disciplinary thing of a totalitarian-oriented parent.
And that's the problem with the mandatory reporting law. And in Idaho, everybody is a mandatory reporter.
Explain that.
Well, so that means if you see something you think is abuse or neglect, you're supposed to call. Mandatory by law, you're supposed to call.
So you will be held responsible.
Yeah, if you don't call, right?
This is like Germany.
Right. So in one case, and I have to tell you what happened that really solidified that CPS would be my topic, and it's this family. So they had a nosy neighbor, is taking on the role of mandatory reporter.
This is another family.
Okay. Because everybody started calling me with their stories after the baby, right? And all of these stories, but this particular story, I was like, that's it. And I'll tell you why here in just a second. But so the neighbor was, took on her mandatory reporter very seriously, called CPS to say the children were often playing outside and mom was yelling at the children.
Sounds like me.
You're kidding me.
Never, right?
What was she yelling at him? It's time to eat. Get home.
Come in, dear. Put away your laundry. All the things we do. And
you didn't do your chores.
Of course, if it was a man yelling, it would be okay.
Maybe.
So CPS showed up at her door, and of course her husband's at work, and she lets them in.
Oh.
And this is actually the report that I saw that had laundry and dishes in the sink and all this stuff, right? So one of the children has epilepsy, and she's 9 at the time, and the children were taken immediately. This was considered imminent danger.
Laundry on the
laundry
table.
and the dishes in the sink.
Yep. and they counted her epileptic, her seizure medication, and there was like 3 pills extra or something. So they were saying, well, you didn't give your child all the medication she needed. So this is also.
And what if you weren't giving her medication?
Right.
That would be even worse.
They counted her pills. Right. Right. So, and there was a reasonable explanation for that. I don't remember.
I bet there was.
But
I have no words.
But the heart of this story that I really want to relay to parents so that they understand how imperative it is that they are the first line of defense for their children is that when these children are taken, they're giving a full physical. I mean naked, I mean checking private parts, the parts that you tell your children, stranger danger, nobody should ever be looking at you here, without their parents present, by perfect strangers. And when this dad told me that, and of course you don't know what's happening immediately when your children are taken, you don't know that this is happening to them and you can't defend them or protect them or, this is atrocious. So then when he got his children back, he said to his daughter, what happened after, and she said, I didn't like the shot, Daddy. I didn't like the shot they had to put in my bum because she had such bad seizures. Because she was so upset and afraid and scared, they had to give her a shot in her bum because she was having seizures. These children are terrified. Terrified.
No parental consent.
No parental consent. And
no advance warning they're going to be taken away from their parents.
No. And insult to injury, the parent gets the bill. He got over $1,000 bill. The parent gets the bill. For this atrocious act that happened upon his children against his will.
And you don't know if they're vaccinated.
You don't know
if they checked if they were already vaccinated and then they vaccinate them again.
Yeah, you have no idea. No.
You don't know.
Medical records are sealed. Everything is sealed. Gag orders are put on the parents. They're not allowed to talk about it. And this is the frustration, is that these parents call me with their stories and I say, do you want to go public with your story? And they can't.
They legally can't.
They can't talk about the CPS case. Because of privacy of the child. But let me tell you what I just discovered about this privacy of the child nonsense. If you look so I went to CPS Idaho's, the government website. And I clicked on the link for adopted children. It takes you to something.edu. So it's no longer a government website. And when you look at this website, there are pictures of children, of their faces, with names and ages, and you can scroll through like you're picking children off of Amazon.
Oh, my.
So what about the privacy of the child?
Oh, my.
And we all know how sex trafficking is happening, with children these days.
Yes.
And talk about a shopping cart.
Shopping cart.
Of children.
Who's the cute one here?
Right.
Wow.
So tell me how this is protecting the privacy of the child. And really, the parent should be in charge of deciding the privacy of the child.
Are you kidding me?
Not the government.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wow. So
what,
you were also telling me about when these children are adopted, and apparently once they're in the CPS's hands, they can be adopted for practically free, if not free?
Well, there's actually... Okay, so CPS is a for-profit agency.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh,
so
who
people
knew?
a lot of times think it's it's not nonprofit. It is for-profit. And it was set up in such a way by President Clinton that it's rewarded to adopt children out. So CPS gets a bonus, sometimes $4,000 per child that they adopt out.
Wow.
This is when they fast-tracked the system. So sometimes in 9 months... your
child's gone.
You're done. The judge says, this child, you've just lost your parental rights and your child's being adopted out. And they're like, but I followed the case plan. I did everything you told me to do. Well, let's be clear. The minute that you sign anything with this government agency, you are in contract with them. They actually do not have authority over you until you submit to them by signing their paperwork.
Oh, wow.
Do not sign their paperwork.
And
Don't
they
sign
just
anything.
slip that in.
Now, back up. I'm trying to follow you and understand what you're saying.
No, I'm following just fine.
Well,
somebody can take a kid for you smoking weed.
I get a little passionate.
Now, what paper are you talking about signing?
So usually, so let's say you let them into your home, and they say, well, we're going to take your children. And they say, if you follow this case plan, blah, 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 you're going to get your children back. Right. It's coercion. Let's call it what it is. It's coercion, because you will do anything
to get
your child back.
Yes.
If they said to you, you have to cut your right arm off, you would do it.
Yes.
Right. So now you've got this legal document in your face and no attorney with you to tell you what this actually means.
Of course not.
And so you're signing it.
And you're probably in your 20s.
Yeah. And now you're in contract.
What if you don't
with
sign
them.
it?
Well, I wouldn't sign it.
Well, that's my point.
I wouldn't sign it.
I wouldn't sign anything without counsel.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you need to do.
What would you do in your 20s?
Well, when you're so intimidated, and that's the purpose for this podcast.
These are young parents.
Get some more education out there. Yeah, but you're right. You're a young parent. What do you know about government oppression and this kind of fascist behavior?
Right.
And certainly our schools aren't teaching us our constitutional rights.
Oh, heavens no.
Right?
No civics classes anymore.
No.
No government training classes. No constitution classes.
No. So you're having these babies, and I want to dispel a couple of different things too, because oftentimes parents will say, I have nothing to hide, so of course I let them in.
Yes.
Right? You don't even understand. You don't.
Yeah, that's naivety.
If they see a pill bottle on the side of your bed that the kids could get to.
Exactly.
I mean,
Imminent danger.
They find a beer in your fridge. Oh, a child could drink this beer.
Right.
Who knows? You probably have a list of things.
Right.
The toilet seat up, the toilet seat down.
The washing machine lid up.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times the CPS shows up at the front door without a warrant.
More often than not.
Yeah, so
I don't have the
people
stat
should
on
be
that,
telling
but
them to go
more
to hell.
often than not.
Well, you don't want to be nasty about it.
Here's what I would say. My children are happy, healthy, and well. You are trespassing. Please get off my property. And I would shut the door. Do not. Here's the things that they say. They'll say, we just need to see the food in your fridge. We just need to make sure there's food for them.
Oh, no.
We just need to make sure all the children have a bed. And you're thinking, well, of course they all have a bed. Come see they all have a bed.
And then if you have animal meat in your fridge,
right.
Are you kidding? You feed them bacon?
Right. We're all supposed to be vegetarians.
Yes, we are.
Right. So that's how they convince you that coming into your home is better for you than not. But I'm here to tell you, you need to invoke your Fourth Amendment right and not let them in.
Okay, so so that family, they did get the daughter back.
They got their 3 children back.
3 children.
But here's the consequence of CPS. The consequence of CPS, and I see it all the time, is this family is destroyed.
Wow.
This family is destroyed.
How many files and records have been opened up on them now?
That was just the one. On this family, it was just the one.
So tell me why they're destroyed.
Because, of course, one parent feels like we shouldn't fight it, we should just submit. And the other parent feels like we're going to fight tooth and nail, right? So let's talk about the effects of what happened to this family. Not only are they in the middle of a divorce, or maybe their divorce is final by now, but they had a child that talked about wanting to commit suicide.
Oh, boy.
This doesn't happen with children.
Oh, boy.
These children are devastated.
Oh, yeah.
They no longer will ever have the safety and security of when they come into their home. I'm safe here.
I'm safe here.
Daddy will protect me no matter what.
They?
9 and under. 9 and under.
So they've been terrorized.
Absolutely terrorized, and they will never be the same. They will never. Now, these children have been taught, this is what infuriates me, that government can get you anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not safe in your home. Daddy can't protect you.
Yeah.
All of that has now, the whole safety of the family has been completely undermined and destroyed. Mm-hmm. Government can get you anywhere. And then that's what those children have been taught.
And then let's talk about neighbors that can just do a witch hunt.
Right.
And decide, I don't like her, I'm going to turn her in.
Right.
And the day they walk in, there's a dirty house.
Right. And I want to talk a little bit about what's happening at the hospitals, too. They are using CPS as a strong arm to increase their profits. Okay, so here's one example. 21-day-old baby. Mom took baby to a well baby check and says dad at home has influenza A. Doctor says do not go home, do not pass go directly to the emergency room, which she did. So she went to the emergency room, and this is at Kootenai Health, where we ended up having a protest. This is North Idaho, where you would not assume that things like this are happening.
North Idaho is one of the bastions of freedom.
Yeah,
isn't it?
right? Exactly. You would never think that this is happening in North Idaho. And so mom takes baby and is, clearly upset. Dad's at home, sick, way too sick to join her.
Right.
So she gets there, and they say, we're going to do a spinal tap on your baby. 21 days old, zero symptoms.
Asymptomatic.
Oh, that is such...
Right. No waiting for tests to come back.
Oh.
Puncture that cord.
They have the needle over this 21-day-old baby, and the doctor looks at mom and says, we have your permission, right?
Oh.
And mom says, no, you don't. And they did it anyway.
Oh.
They did it anyway 3 times. Oh. On a 21-day-old baby, no symptoms. When they went for a 4th attempt, and she was like, way done, and we're like, that's enough. You're not doing that. Give me my baby back. They said, well, we're going to call CPS.
Is that doctor in jail? Is the hospital shut down?
Should be. You should be. Mm-hmm. And isn't this really insurance fraud? If you continue to do something to get more money from the insurance,
going to get more money.
Yeah.
Oh, it all comes clear.
You see, right?
Yes,
right.
I see.
Or an unvaccinated child who just had the flu and just needed some fluids, and they kept that child for 3 days because she's unvaccinated. So they had to watch her closely. No treatments, no testing. She's just laying around in the hospital, and they're charging the insurance company.
And who gets the bill?
Yeah.
Well, the insurance, of course.
The insurance company.
Yes, of course, if they find out you have insurance.
Right. So I'm really encouraging parents in this situation to call their insurance companies and say, hey, I did not consent to this. This was not necessary.
Yeah.
Start getting the insurance companies involved.
Yeah. So they don't have to pay this.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter, who had eventually, we decided, complete adrenal failure. She was an adult, though. She went to the hospital 3 times, but did not have insurance. First time they gave her an antibiotic in the emergency room. You know, just ridiculous. The second time they said you're crazy and gave her Prozac, and the third time they gave her, what was it, a benzo, because she hadn't slept in 11 days. She should have been in the ICU. I mean, this was a real crisis. She calls me and she says, Mom, I'm just calling to say goodbye because I'm dying.
Oh my gosh.
And I got there at 11 o'clock at night, first plane I could get to. I think we spent $2,000 in SP, standard process, getting her better, and literally was one of the worst scenes I've ever seen. And she stopped having these episodes after she was chewing up standard process. And it was just the most frightening thing. But the thing that I want to emphasize is she didn't have insurance. Did they care?
Right.
Did they care? Did they admit her? She should have been admitted.
Right.
She would have died.
Right.
Or something terrible, but she didn't have insurance.
Right.
So.
Right. And if you don't mind, do you mind if I talk about a little bit of stats about how they're not safer in child protection services?
Well, certainly.
Okay, so I want to give you guys a couple of stats. So since 2000, 61,000 foster children have been listed as missing. 61,000. Nationwide.
Foster kids.
Yeah, just missing.
That were taken from their parents,
right,
put in foster care.
Right.
Are missing.
Because that's supposedly safer, right?
Yes.
Well,
doesn't
certainly
sound safer
than having been with their loving parents.
Right.
Now they're with the loving state. And
right.
Now there's 60,000 plus.
61,000.
Missing.
And then 53,000 listed as runaway. So let's be clear, that's over 100,000 children since 2000 that are missing from the foster care system. This is not safer.
No.
I wonder how they...
And why would they run away from a foster care parent? Aren't they just super loving?
Right.
I wonder how
Isn't
they
it
distinguish
wonderful?
Between missing and runaway.
I wonder that
the
too.
Runaway leave a note?
I wonder that too. I do wonder that. And they also don't really address those that age out. Once you age out, you're just done.
18?
They're done. Yeah, they're done tracking you. They don't track you.
Just as if they're adopted.
Yep. Adopted children are no longer tracked. They can be absolutely sold into child sex trafficking and nobody will ever know.
Oh, that just makes
nobody
me
will
sick.
ever know. So I wanted.
So they can adopt them for little, if nothing.
Oh, no, they're
that's
paid.
That's the story you were telling me about the woman that had 10 children.
Parents who foster a child, they're paid.
I know.
Foster
I know.
parent. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, if they adopt them.
Yeah, even if they adopt them, like their health insurance is covered. They can send in receipts for like their backpacks and their shoes and things like that. So there's money in it. And then can you imagine if you sell them? Right? So the story I was telling you last night is the one that had adopted 10 children, and the CPS caseworker comes because she wants to adopt another one, and she's like, where are all the children? There's like no stuff, no toys, right?
In the house.
They
didn't check. Like, is the toilet seat up?
Yeah. Right. Oh, no. See, the same rules.
Where's the kids? Oh.
The same rules do not apply to foster parents. In fact, quite often you'll find that foster parents have been convicted of sex crimes against children, and they're still foster parents.
Wow.
So how is that safer?
Yeah.
It's maddening.
So with these 10 children, they couldn't find them. Eventually, they made another appointment, came back, and there were 2 children.
There was only
there.
2 children she could find to get them back to the house.
Yeah, and what you're saying is that you can sell these children for a lot of money.
Right.
And then after,
just say they ran away.
But after they're adopted, this is the point I want to make, is after they're adopted, they're not tracked anymore.
Exactly right.
So you can foster care them, adopt them, and then they're not tracked anymore. Nobody checks up on them. Nobody comes to see them. Nobody makes sure everything's okay. They're their child.
Exactly right.
And they can be gone. So she wanted
and you'll
to
never know
adopt
it.
an 11th one.
And you'll never know. I mean, these parents that, they will never know where their child is. It's just, can you imagine?
I can't.
After, 9 months, you follow the case plan, you do everything they tell you to do, and then they say, nope, we're terminating your parental rights, your child's adopted out, and you have no idea where they are. And in fact...
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
What does the parent have to be guilty of over several months of not getting their child back for something as horrible as that to happen? I mean, the ones you've been describing here so far, the kids were back within a week or 2 or 3.
Yes. That's because those parents fought back. If you just follow the system and you do everything they tell you to do, you lose your child. You have to fight back. And so I would recommend, here's food for thought for parents out there. We have life insurance, we have health insurance, right? There's nothing wrong with calling around, finding a good constitutional attorney. And I'll tell you right now, if the attorney says you just do what they say, everything will go better for you if you do what they say.
Attorney.
You're the wrong attorney. You find an attorney that says we're going to fight like hell to get your child back, and then you put them on retainer. Because can you imagine if you're an attorney and you call and say, my children were taken yesterday, right? And let's be clear, you have 24 hours before the first shelter care hearing. The first shelter care hearing, that's when you need to fight with everything in you. But they'll tell you, oh, it's nothing important. It's just, part of the system. No big deal. You don't even have to come if you don't want to. You have to be there. You have to be there. You have to be there with your constitutional attorney. You have to be there with doctors who are on your side. You have to be there with parents and grandparents and anybody who will say this is a good parent.
Yeah.
All the witnesses that will defend you.
Well, that's
character witnesses.
Some of the best advice you've given yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you find a good attorney,
this is like a declaration of war.
It is,
and you better move your troops in fast.
That's right, because you are the first line of defense for your children, and they are counting on you to protect them. That's right.
Yes, the children are.
So if you shop around, find a good attorney, put them on retainer, because if you're the attorney and let's imagine if a parent calls, right, and says, my children were taken from me and I need you to come defend me within 48 hours. The attorney's like, I don't know you. Right? Yeah. I haven't vetted you. I don't have a file on you. I know nothing about you.
The state might be right in your case.
Exactly right. And then an attorney doesn't know that, to be fair. Yeah. So if you want to be preemptive and you want to be prepared, and some people are like, well, do you think that just is begging for a problem? I mean, it's insurance.
Wow.
It's insurance, right? I have a good constitutional attorney. They know me. They know I'm a good mom. And if I call that attorney and I say CPS came to my door yesterday, he's ready. He's ready. Wow. And that's a good way to be ready.
Yeah, so you put him on retainer. It doesn't mean he's charging you by the hour until you need him.
Exactly right.
I mean, we pre-purchased our graves plots.
Right. And our life insurance.
That's a good point, Mary.
Right?
And our life insurance.
And life insurance.
What's $500 to have an attorney ready to go? So if, and you're in that position.
Any issue. Well,
that's excellent advice.
This has come a little bit close to home. My daughter moved out here, and she got a hotel room. Her son is just an active little boy, and he was about, 3?
Yeah, about 3.
3 years old. And anyway, she was in her hotel room. She went out on the little balcony deck to talk on the phone, and she was trying to potty train him. So maybe he was like 2.5. I don't know. She was trying to potty train him. He potty trains better without a diaper on. So while she's out on the phone talking, she was actually talking to me, and he runs out the door. He's a smart little whippersnapper of the hotel. He's naked. Okay.
Into the hallway,
down to the lobby.
Oh.
Little boy. She talks to me for like 10 minutes, turns around. Where are you? Can't find him. Door's open.
Oh.
She runs out. Here's this little naked boy. And there was this lady just horrified and had a blanket over him. He's naked. I'm like, really? He's 2 or 3. I forget how old. But she was horrified. It was like she had just seen the most pornographic movie in her entire life, sitting there, and they call the police. And, she finds him within, 2 minutes. She's like, well, he's got to be around here somewhere. She runs down to the lobby, and there she is, just horrified. And she's like, I'm sorry. I didn't see. He ran out the door. He's a smart little kid.
Yeah.
And thank you.
A little boy.
And I'll take him back. Well, within 10 minutes, she took him back to the hotel room. 10 minutes, police knock on the door.
Oh, my gosh.
Police knock on the door. Do they ask if they can come in? No. They barge in. There's 2 guys. They were the biggest, I'm not going to use the words, you can even imagine, looking for cocaine. They're turning everything over, looking in her suitcases. They say, we're looking for drugs. We're looking for cocaine. She's like, are you kidding? I lost my kid for 2 minutes.
Right.
And they turn everything over and they do all this stuff. And she says, I have never been so... She says she has so traumatized by it. My little grandson didn't realize, luckily he was young enough, but she, the mother, was so traumatized that these policemen could have taken her precious baby and just taken him.
Right. I know, it's terrifying. And speaking of something so ridiculous and silly, I had an Idaho parent. Luckily, he did know his rights. And here's a perfect case. He told them to get off of his property. They did, and they never came back because the child's school actually called CPS because the boy, I think he was 7. Don't quote me on that, but he was a little boy, right around my kids' ages. So I sort of related.
Did he kiss a girl?
He was stinky.
Oh,
because he was stinky.
Because the
little boy was stinky. And I just was like, you're kidding me, right? I mean, I've heard a lot of things. You're kidding me, right? So the school didn't call you and say, hey, what's going on at home? The little guy's been stinky for a few days, No, their first instinct is to call CPS.
CPS, the Gestapo.
How bizarre. How bizarre.
The for-profit.
Yeah, for-profit. And how they make money is taking your children. That's how they make money.
Now explain that. This is just, I can't wrap my head around it.
Okay.
That people could be that evil.
I know.
And you were telling me also that these are a lot of childless people that work for CPS because I can't really fathom a mother, a father walking in and taking children willy-nilly just for money.
Right.
I can't.
Right. I know. And you have to remember the Adoption and Save Families Act was set in motion by President Bill Clinton, and it offers cash bonuses to states for every child they adopt out of foster care. So, and also,
my goodness,
a lot of people don't know that this is Title 4E funding, which means it's coming out of yours and mine Social Security money.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah. So isn't that crazy how they tell us that there's not going to be social security money for us when we retire? Well, that's because they're using our own money to take our own children.
To a for-profit company.
Yeah.
To give to a for-profit.
Yep. And so they've got to, just like any other business, they've got to increase their revenue. They've got more employees to pay. They've got lights to keep on. They have rent to pay, right? So they have to keep taking children. President Clinton set this up, and it incentivizes people to take your children.
Wow.
Now, that's not how it used to be. And President Trump has something where he wants to actually remove the funding from the group homes and actually put the money toward parents getting the help that they need.
Oh, good.
So it's more about keeping the family intact and fixing the problem.
That's good.
Rather than removing the child.
I mean, can you imagine if they walked in, me being a single mom, 5 kids, place is a mess. I'm yelling, I'm crying, I'm whatever. Kids are fighting, blah, blah, blah. They walk in and go, we are going to help you.
Yeah.
We're going to spend $4,000 and get you a maid.
Right.
We're going to help you. We're going to send you to anger management classes.
Right.
Or we're going to help you teach you how to cook.
And don't worry.
Or time management.
Nobody's going to take your children.
No worries. No,
Right.
We're going to keep this family intact. Now, if they got paid to do that, to help these people, and I'm not talking just single moms, just families in general, just help. Bring this help to these families instead of terrorizing.
Exactly
this
right.
is terror on the nth degree.
Right.
There couldn't be anything more terrifying.
Well, we've heard how bad things are, and we're we've got a few minutes left here, maybe another 10, 15 minutes. Where do we go from here? I mean, I know you could pull out another half dozen examples of how horrible this is. We understand how horrible this is. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, in a perfect world, I'd love to see CPS defunded, and I'd love to see it privatized. There's something wonderful called Safe Families for Kids, and so it's a place where you can call as a parent, like we were talking about yesterday, like a mom with an autistic child that's just too hard to handle, and it's so overwhelming, right? You can call Safe...
Unbelievably overwhelming.
So overwhelming.
Unbelievably.
Yes.
And your husband takes care of a lot of those, too.
Right. And my heart goes out to these parents.
Yes.
And as we were talking about, a lot of times the fathers leave, and then it's all on the mom to hold down the fort with all these children, and especially one that takes a lot of time and has a lot of needs. You can call Safe Families for Kids. Now, most states have it. You can check your state.
Is that a federal program?
No, it's privatized.
Oh.
You see? And they work in conjunction with churches, which is how it's supposed to be. The community taking care of a family in need.
Yeah.
So Safe Families for Kids partners with churches. The church has to commit to helping families. So let's say you call because you're not in fear that they're going to take your children, and you call and you say, I need help. I'm overwhelmed. Right? And they step in, and the congregation helps the family, helps the mom and dad, helps them get back on their feet, whatever it is. Maybe they're about to be homeless. Maybe they can't make their rent.
Right.
Right. Now, can you imagine the difference if mom is saying to children, Mommy's got to get a job. Yeah. I'm going to find us a place to live. This church congregation is going to help me. This other family is going to take care of you until I find a place for us. And you're going to be safe. Now, they're not cut off from seeing their family. They're not cut off from seeing their parents.
Right. They're on vacation.
Right.
You can spin it.
Right.
Hey, 2 Christmases.
Right. It's a totally different experience, right?
Funny.
Than being ripped away from mom and dad, screaming and yelling and crying and terrified and reaching out to mommy,
Yeah.
right? I've seen these videos, and it makes me sob. I would much rather have a privatized something where you say, I need help. And the community comes together to help you.
That was so beautiful.
Right?
That gives me chills right there.
That's how it's supposed to be in a constitutional republic. It's not supposed to be government. It's supposed to be your community.
Another question then here.
Fascist.
Should this kind of stuff, should somebody find way into your home, either by invitation or warrant, you should be filming it.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. You should be filming it the whole time. It's amazing how once you have a camera going, people seem to get in line, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, you should absolutely be filming it. And some people have said, I'm just going to go Facebook Live right then. Right?
Oh, so they can't delete it.
So they can't delete it.
Right.
And people are seeing it. And so, I don't know, that's an option.
Oh,
right?
Look at that. I forgot to fold my laundry. And they're writing it down.
Right.
I want everybody to see that.
Right.
Yeah. I have 7 piles of laundry that I just can't get to because I have 2 jobs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're writing it down.
Record everything.
Hoard me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, record everything. That's a really good point.
Wow. That's brilliant. So you can send them to the safe place if they don't have relatives and friends that can help out. But, I would like to see some change. I mean, I like what Trump's doing with that, and he'll be probably vilified for it. Oh, you're taking funding away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of states have delayed signing on to it. I think they're kind of hoping that he gets voted out, the next time around, and they don't have to deal with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, my goodness.
This really excites me and makes me think about, all the people that need help that we could rally around. If we could change the CPS into the antithesis of what it is now, to a helping place. They get paid when they, in Europe, when you have a child, you get a housekeeper, you get 6 months off. Granted, their taxes are a lot higher, but you get 6 months off work. They bring in housekeepers. They treat these children like, oh, this is going to be our future.
Well, that's right. They see them as the future of their country.
Yeah.
And how do they want them raised?
Yeah.
Healthy, productive, loyal, rather than looking over their shoulders and scared to death of every moment.
Yeah.
That someone is going to come and terrorize them once again.
We just heard a heartbreaking story of a family where they had a little boy, and he didn't get vaccinated at all. And he's still on the spectrum of autism, just still a little bit there. Real ADHD, but functioning great, brilliant little boy and everything. Parents got divorced. The father had a set of twins with another mother. So it's this little boy's half brother. We know these people very closely. They would not let this little boy come over and visit the twins because he was unvaccinated. Well, these twins were born 2 months premature, very sick mother, did not get good start in life at all. They were in the hospital. Terrible prenatal health, terrible. In the hospital 2 months. The mother, talk about CPS, should come in and teach these mothers how to eat while they're pregnant. That is just so critical. And came in, these little boys were vaccinated up to the yin-yang. And especially when they're vaccinated, they told the brother he couldn't come see them because he was going to bring germs to them.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
He was the danger. And he even drew pictures about this. It's just so traumatizing for him. Well, the little twins are now 2.5 years old, and they are classified at the highest autism level they can be.
Totally non-functional.
Total non-functional.
So
they will need
sad.
24/7 care, 24 hours a day. Yeah. They cannot be left alone, institutionalized for the rest of their lives. And who's going to pay for this?
Right.
This mom is a single mom. That father has now left that family too. And who's going to pay for this? Who's going to take care of these little children that are basically not there?
Right.
Highest level, following all the rules, getting all the vaccinations. They must have been vaccinated while they were preemies, when they have no immune system, no ability to create antibodies.
Right.
They're following the rules. And so you think about switching the system around to really protecting us like they do in Europe and they do in Japan and they do in Israel and other places where their children are their gold. And teaching these parents to have no training on how to be a parent.
Right.
I can imagine the CPS finding out somebody's pregnant, coming to the front door, passing out literature, helping them to better understand the value of prenatal health.
Yeah. And get paid for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely set up wrong. I used to say CPS is broken, but after I read how it's set up, CPS is functioning exactly how it was designed to function.
Yes.
Yes. And I know we wanted to move on to a little happier things, and I can read our 4th and 14th Amendment rights to just kind of highlight those, and that'll be something really good. But I definitely want to address how foster care is feeding into the child sex trafficking problem. The FBI data, this is their own data, nearly 25,000 runaways reported to NCMEC in 2017. 1 in 7 were likely victims of child sex trafficking, and of those, 88% were in the care of social services when they went missing. If we look at some other stats, in 2013, the FBI rated, and 60% of those victims came from foster care or group homes.
So 88%, 60%?
60%. And then in 2014, in New York, 85% of the children that they recovered were from foster care. And in Connecticut, police rescued 88 children from sex trafficking, and 86 of them were from the child welfare system. Oh. So we can see, and that's why, again, I want to stress to parents, you are the first line of defense, because they're not safer in foster care.
Right. Wow.
But I'm happy to close on a happy note about the rights that we really do have.
Let's do that.
Okay. So we really do have rights that we can hold to. And CPS does not usurp this authority, no matter what they say to you. They do not usurp your God-given rights, which are supported by the Constitution. Right? Okay. So Amendment 4, this is that it protects you against unreasonable search and seizure. So that's why I'm talking about the 4th Amendment right, holding to that when they come to your door. It's your 4th Amendment right not to let them in. Okay. And then your 14th Amendment, this talks about your right to property and the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay. Your children are your property.
Yes, they are.
They're they belong to you. No matter what anybody tells you, like Paul Offit, Dr. Paul Offit, who we know
I've debated him on radio.
Yeah, good. Because he has books written about how a parent's love and a parent's religion actually get in the way of their good parenting.
Wow. That's why we give our daughters away at weddings, because they're your property.
They're your property.
I don't like the sexist attitude of that, but regardless, they are yours to raise. You brought them into the world. They are your property, yours to take care of.
That's absolutely right. And we need to remember that.
And I
our
like
rights
that
come
story
from
you
God.
told about how when they changed one word in some statute somewhere from he to the,
All right.
how important words are in these laws.
Yeah.
And they had the word he in there, meaning a person. He is a person. Mm-hmm. They changed he to the, which changed that child to a ward of the state.
Yeah, we stopped that bill, by the way, in Idaho. Yeah, in the neglect statute. So they were trying to remove the ownership. That's why you have to be watching what their changes are in these statutes. And you see the, like, he is lined out and the is so supposed to replace he. And you think, oh, that's pretty benign, right?
Right.
But it is not benign. It completely changes ownership.
Yeah.
You know, so so there's that. And then also you have to check your neglect statutes and see what your law says is neglect. That's one of the things that we want to change in Idaho. We need to change how they define medical neglect because it's so broad.
If they have a diaper rash.
Right? That it's leaving room for doctors to say they didn't take my orders, so this is medical neglect, so we're going to call CPS. So that has to change.
That's a vaccination issue right there. They
absolutely
didn't do my orders.
That's exactly
Yes.
right. Or chemotherapy, and we're seeing that already. We're seeing that the state is winning lawsuits and mandating chemotherapy on children against the parents' will. So we're seeing that too, not just vaccines. You know, people want to be on one side of the vaccine topic, but we're talking about any medical intervention.
Yeah.
And most parents are so hopelessly ignorant
Yeah.
of these issues because they simply do not study them.
I know.
They're too busy watching television when they get home at night.
Well, I think they keep us on the hamster wheel, right? We're working, we're exhausted, we're trying to go to all the games for our children and run them all around and be that busy parent. And then you don't have time you're exhausted just trying to survive on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. And then when you're a single parent, it's
especially
10,000 times worse.
Especially so.
And then when you have an autistic child,
oh my goodness.
We've told stories before, which I won't repeat, but the dysfunction in these marriages with autistic children because they weren't healthy parents to be having children in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then they have a very handicapped child. And they split up. They can't stay together. They don't expect to raise a child like that. They have these ideas of this happy little family. Nothing ever works out like that. Right. And a lot of times it gets thrown on the woman. Yeah. And the man goes off and pays his child support, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, take a couple of minutes. Wrap this up.
Well, I just want to encourage parents. I think that like the vaccine issue or like medical treatments or the CPS, all of this comes from an underlying belief that you don't know better as a parent. And they're teaching that to you from the minute that you get pregnant. You know, you're going and you're having the doctor tell you, and you're going to your well baby checks and the doctor's telling you what's best. And so we're taught from the minute that we have a baby in our tummies that the doctor knows best or the government knows best, and they're completely undermining a mother's instinct or father's instinct.
That involves an absolutely natural biological procedure that doesn't need anything but love and good nutrition.
Right.
When my daughter was released from the hospital after she had her baby, she had to watch a video. And the video said, if your child gets a fever, call your doctor. If your child sneezes, call your doctor. If you don't know what to do about this, call your doctor. There was no education, not one word of, you could just do this or this or this. No, it was call your doctor about 35 times. Call your doctor, call your doctor, call your doctor, call your doctor.
Yes, it's a complete undermining or shredding of the parental instinct.
Yes.
You're taught not to think and not to feel from your child.
Yes.
That the doctor always knows best. So I'm here, like you said, a lot of parents don't have time to research. So that's why I do what I do. You are the authority, parents. You are the authority, and you've been given an amazing God-given gift of knowing what your child's cry is.
Yes.
No government entity is going to understand or have a knowing of your child's cry and what that means.
A mother knows.
You know. Mm-hmm. And so many times I hear parents that decide to vaccinate and they knew it was wrong. They knew, and they did it anyway. They overrode their instinct, and they allowed the man in the white coat, who must know more than they do, to do something they didn't feel right about doing.
Yeah, the authority figure that they've been taught to obey.
Yes.
And instead of learning on their own, even if they do have that gut feeling, they've got to learn.
Yes.
We always say
Follow
that.
it.
We're not pro or con vaccines.
Right.
We're pro-learning.
Right.
You need to understand
Just pro-informed consent.
Pro-informed consent.
Real consent, but that's not what they say.
No.
They do not tell you that you can get an exception to having
Right.
vaccinations. They tell you your child cannot come into school unless they're vaccinated.
Which is a lie.
You forced a law, or I don't know if it went through.
We have a bill. We had a bill. It went through the House and was stopped in the Senate. That really is just saying that people should follow the law. Any communication that comes home from the school that says that vaccines are mandatory should also have the exemption statute, so that the parent can have informed consent and educated decision. It really is false information. It's hashtag fake news.
Yes.
To send out these these flyers to home that your child can't come back to school unless they receive all these different vaccines. Your child's behind! Exclamation point. Bold words. Like that's a fear tactic.
It is. It's scary. It's terrorizing.
Come on.
It's terrorizing.
It is.
And then they say you're a murderer if you don't vaccinate.
Where can people go for more information?
Well, you can go to healthfreedomidaho.org. You can go to idahocps.org. That is a partner group with Health Freedom Idaho. And there's great information. You don't have to be from Idaho to glean great information. Another website that I go to a lot for information is medicalkidnap.com. They're doing great things at exposing these stories. I mean, sometimes I just can't read them because it's just
that's
too heartbreaking.
Distressing.
It's just too heartbreaking.
Medicalkidnap. Just like it sounds.
Yeah, they're doing great things.
IdahoCPS.org.
But the medical kidnap is national. It's not
national.
just Idaho.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling really jealous. I wanted you to be in Utah to fight this. I don't think there's anybody here. Is there?
There's got to be.
I don't know of anybody in Utah, but there are people like me all across the nation. And so Terry LaPointe is amazing. She used to be with medicalkidnap.com. Now she's spending a lot of time in D.C. working on that level. And that's the fact. We have to be working at every single level.
Yeah.
I've had people in the past on my daily show in Salt Lake fighting this, but that, my goodness, that was a decade ago.
Oh,
the last
wow.
time I was talking to somebody.
I mean, that shows you how long it's been going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe even further than that.
And also, if I'm speaking to anybody in their states that want to run a bill, we had a bill that's a notification of rights bill. Now, you wouldn't think that anybody would have a hard time with a notification of rights, meaning that when CPS agent comes to your door, they hand you a half piece of paper as the parent that says, you have the right to not let us in. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right to not speak to us, right? And so you wouldn't think anybody would have a hard time with the notification of rights that already exist. But guess who really fought that bill in Idaho? Who? The Fraternal Order of Police. Really? I have yet to understand why the Fraternal Order of Police does not want people to understand their rights. I read their letter in opposition of the bill, and it was nonsense. It said it's going to cost the taxpayers thousands of dollars to implement this.
To protect their children.
Right?
To inform them of their rights.
Right. Of the rights they already have. Right? But now we sort of know who's going to fight it. The game plan is changed a bit. And I would really encourage, because you really can call them out and say, so you really don't want citizens to know their rights? Is that what you're saying? And sometimes we run these bills just to flush that out. Right?
It
flushes out the opposition.
Make them really say it's just about the money.
That's right.
Not the children.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's flush it out.
Yeah.
So we gave a lot of testimony there of children who were, traumatized, and they're talking about the very small percentage of kids, like you were saying, that really do need to be removed from homes. And we're saying, right, that's valid. But how about the larger percentage of children who are being scarred for no reason?
Yes. Go get a warrant.
Yeah.
Take the child.
Right.
I mean, if it needs to be taken, and to leave on a higher, happier note, you all need to go watch The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. It's a documentary, and there are parents that should not be having children.
Yes, The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Yeah, so I'm sicking the CPS on The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Go get those guys.
And to leave these loving, caring parents
those
alone.
Those that are doing cocaine
because
strings.
there's an empty box of cereal on the kitchen table.
Yes. Right.
I mean, it's so hilarious. These women were doing Coke strings and in the hospital having their baby. And they don't see anything wrong with it.
My goodness.
This was a documentary. It wasn't fake.
I think it's on Netflix. Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Oh, it's hilarious, but it's not. It's sad, but it's.
And that's what everybody thinks CPS is for.
I know, and
right?
It is for that.
Right.
I mean,
and now it's just gotten out of control. But truly,
this mother was so mad they took her child.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
like,
anytime you have an unrestricted bureaucracy, they always amass more and more power and more authority unto themselves, especially unelected.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that the CPS courts are actually, everybody in that court is paid by the Health and Welfare Department. They are not there for you. The judge, the attorneys, the advocates, everything is going through the Health and Welfare Department. Nobody there is for you. You have typically 4, 5, or 6 against you.
They want to keep their jobs.
That's why you
want
get
to
that
keep the department
constitutional
going.
attorney ahead of time.
Right.
And if they're for profit, I can't even go there. So we better wrap this up.
Yeah. Ideally, then, if you had to go to court in that 24 or 48 hour, whatever that first thing
shelter
is,
care.
For shelter care, you show up with grandma and grandpa and the uncles and the doctors that are on your side, and everybody show up with an army of 30 or 40 people as you walk in that courtroom.
Right, which is hard to amass in 24 to 48 hour notice, right?
Yeah, but
so you need to be ready. You need to build your army. I'm ready. I'm going to tell you that right now.
You have 4 kids at home, right?
Well, one's in college, so I have 3 at home. But oftentimes we have a foreign exchange student. We don't this year, but we love having children in our home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, when they're in my home, I want them to feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
One of our foreign exchange students said she's never felt more safe than in my home because she knew I was going to fight like hell for her, no matter what.
What country was she from?
Poland.
And she felt safer in your home.
She felt safe in my home.
It's
and
wonderful.
You've been proactive about this. That's why they feel safe. You've gotten insurance for your children.
Right.
And then they hear,
never heard of this.
And these kids in situations like this, like in Misty's home, they hear the parents talk about crucial political issues.
Yeah,
and they hear about current events, and they hear about atrocities on the part of government and runaway agencies. So they hear it in the context of, Mom and Dad are here, they're going to take care of us.
Yeah.
As opposed to families that just,
Well, I'm going to be brave and go to medicalkidnap.com. It's going to tear my heart out. But I don't know much about this, I'm sorry to say. I raised 6 children. We raised 13 children between both of us. And
you guys are amazing. By the way.
I don't know.
Right. Thanks, everybody. And please go to iTunes and rate our podcast. If you liked anything you've heard this evening on this podcast with Misty, please go back to iTunes and rate it. We would so appreciate that. Let's get us in the top of the new and hot podcasts, even though we're not that new. But we are hot.
We were at the top
and
when we
with your
first came
simple
out.
rating, we can rise in the ranks. So if you guys, if you've enjoyed this at all,
yeah, any of them, please go to iTunes, leave us some feedback, or just rate us. It would be so much appreciated.
And don't forget to tell your family and friends to take our free symptom survey at forbiddendoctor.com to find out where they are on the health profile. And remember, it is free.
You end up spending less money in the long run by not buying supplements or healthcare products that you don't need. Yeah. So thanks for listening to this wonderful information. Misty, thank you so much.
Misty.
I'm sorry to cut you off on this, but I know you could go on for a long time. I could
go on forever.
I figured, but please, maybe we'll have you back.
Okay,
I'd love that. I would love that. So thanks for listening, everybody. To this Forbidden Information, which it is, and Forbidden Podcast. Join us next time for another in-depth discussion of forbidden knowledge.
We will see you then. Many of you may be finding us for the first time. Keep in mind the protocols on our website and what we are talking about are only available to logged-in users. But you can create an account instantly by taking our free no-obligation symptom survey at forbiddendoctor.com. Understand the survey saves you money in the long run because you're not going to be taking supplements you don't need. And all of this at no charge to you. And if you would like 20% off all the time, join our VIP membership. Just go to forbiddendoctor.com/VIP to listen to a short video on the benefits, and let's start your healing process today.